It is me behind Spare. I have been going through the book. Can you see all my Post-it notes?
Yes.
Where I've been making notes about some of the parts of it that are the most surprising. I mean, there's lots we know already about the story about the virginity, the smoking weed, the doing coke. Though it's interesting how that comes about, but I don't know if you got the impression. I've only done the first part, which is about the first sort of 130 pages, 140 pages.
Yeah.
It's split into 3 parts. And this part takes him up from his childhood, from burying his dear mother, to the time that he is in the military. And the impression I get wholeheartedly is of a very, very angry man. He is very, very cool and collected in the interviews he's been giving. But in this book, he is bitter about the fact that William wasn't nicer to him, wasn't closer to him, didn't acknowledge him more when they were at school together.
So would you like to read me a bit that stands out to you, Cristo, that other people may not have seen or read about in the papers or heard poured over in the numerous discussions? You can choose any bit that you like that you kind of noticed where you've got one of your Post-it notes affixed.
I've got a couple of bits.
Yeah.
I've got a bit here where, sorry about my dogs going absolutely crazy. I've got a bit here about the fact that he was talking about peace with his brothers here, and he actually says, "People forget how much my mother strove for peace. She circled the globe many times over, traipsed through minefields, cuddled AIDS patients, consoled war orphans, always looking to bring peace to someone somewhere." So the meeting with his father and his brother to try and patch things up, he's actually comparing to his mother's desire for world peace, which is quite something, I have to say.
Hang on. So what you took away from that, Cristo, was Prince Harry kind of over-egging his role, kind of seeing himself in a sort of epic role that you don't think really accorded with what was going on. Is that what you're saying?
Or the way I put it is laying it on with a trowel. Okay. I mean, he really does egg every single thing. He milks everything out of every situation to become more and more woe is me. He speaks a lot, which has been reported on, for instance, about the fact that when he started at Eaton, his brother said, "Look, I don't want you to talk to me. You know, you're my younger brother. We ain't going to be speaking with each other." He refers to that endlessly through this first part. Another part that was very widely reported.
Hang on, let me just get your take on that. I mean, I am aware of people I know. I didn't know anyone who went to Eton. I didn't come from that kind of background. But I do know people who, when their younger sibling pitched up at their particular senior school, usually an ordinary, London day school, did say, "Don't you dare speak to me. Don't talk to me." And we used to go on a school coach, and I might have been guilty of saying to my own sister, "Don't speak to me on the coach. I know where I sit. You just go to the back and sit wherever you can find somewhere. Don't you dare talk to me." But I was 11. I'm sorry now.
Well, absolutely. I mean, William at the time was 14. He was 12. And what's interesting is actually he refers once again, it's first referred to very early on, back up at chapter 58. So right at the end of this part, he talks about his passing out parade. So this is years after being at Eton. And I'll read you this. "He couldn't resort to his typical attitude when we were sharing an institution, them both being in the army. He couldn't pretend not to know me or he'd be insubordinate." So he's still referring back to the incident in Eton. And he does so many, many times during this chapter.
And does that mean, Cristo, that reading it, you don't feel sympathy for him? You feel as though he is sticking to a childhood grudge that most men and women and adults of all different dimensions would have moved on from and probably wouldn't have really put in the book, or might have included as one throwaway line but not dwelled upon? Is that what you mean?
I think that's absolutely it. You'd refer to it and say, "Oh, that was hard, but we became closer later." But he refers to it so many times, to the point, as I said, where when he's in his passing out parade in the military, because the Queen's there, "Oh, well, William can't ignore me now." He constantly refers back to it. He speaks, can I tell you about another part which has been very well reported, which was the part about the joke that was supposedly made by Prince Charles about who is your real father.
Yeah.
And when he was in the interview with Tom Bradby and various other interviews where he was asked about that, obviously he alluded to the fact that this was a joke about James Hewitt and the rumours that had been circulating, the rumours that are, of course, rubbish. But, of course, in the book, it's not like that at all. I can read you the quote. Now, what had happened was, just to give you the context, in Eaton, it was very near to Broadmoor, and there was a siren that used to go off when someone from Broadmoor escaped, so that those in Eaton would know. And it goes on to tell a story about how when his father visited a similar institution to Broadmoor, he met someone who thought he was also the Prince of Wales, who had mental health problems, and talks about that story and how his father had a sort of more philosophical view, saying, well, maybe he was the Prince of Wales, maybe I'm not the Prince of Wales. And it was that sort of conversation. So who could be sure they weren't the patient, hopelessly deluded? These are words of Prince Charles, humoured by friends and family. He then goes on to say, who knows if I'm really the Prince of Wales? Who knows if I'm even your real father? Maybe your real father is in Broadmoor, darling boy. So it's nothing to do with James Hewitt. It's to do with a story.
So really,
about meeting someone who
Cristo, this is an injustice done to Prince Harry, isn't it? Because if it's lifted from the book, who knows if I'm even your real father, it looks as if Prince Charles, now the king, has callously joked that his own son might not be his own flesh and blood, but actually hasn't at all. It's a completely different conversation about a patient in Broadmoor who is delusional, who is psychotic, who thinks he himself is the Prince of Wales, and the Prince of Wales, who's the real Prince of Wales, making a joke out of it. Nothing to do with Hewitt and nothing to do with saying I'm not your biological father, and not casting aspersions on the late Princess Diana either.
Absolutely. Yet Harry has not corrected that in any of the interviews that he's given about this book.
Christo, I tell you, if you wait one moment for me, we'll take a caller and then we'll see what you would like to say in response to our caller. So Amanda is on the line in Huddersfield. Hi, Amanda. Thanks for ringing. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for taking my call.
A pleasure.
I'm going to say some quite serious things that have happened to me.
Please do.
With racism. I'm a white woman.
Yeah.
And please excuse me, I've got some heart-beating problems, so my breathing goes funny.
All right, my love.
Because I've got heart, so please excuse me.
Okay.
I'm now nearly going on 60. I have a mixed-race child, mixed-race Jamaican black.
Yes.
A lovely, lovely man. And he's now going on 34. Going back 34 years ago, and a white woman having a mixed race child with a black man was taboo. It was taboo. Even if I live in Huddersfield, where there was lots of black people and lots of Indian people, the reaction from my mother and my grandmother was absolutely appalling. I fully understand Harry. I understand his anger. I understand that he feels betrayed. I understand how Meghan feels. But a lot of the racism is come through what I don't call this kind of two different kinds, from my experience, there's two different kinds of racism. One racism where other people do not understand other people's cultures. They don't understand it, and they make mistakes, sometimes terrible mistakes. Then there's racism, which is pure hate. I count myself blessed because I live in a mixed area where we've got African people. My next door neighbours are Zimbabwean
I mean, I would just interrupt you, Amanda, just to say one thing. You know that Prince Harry said to Tom Bradby he didn't think there had been racism in the royal family, despite all the, enormous turbulent reaction to what he and Meghan had said to Oprah Winfrey. Harry said just the other night that he didn't think there'd been racism at all. He didn't think the royal family was racist. He thought there was some unconscious bias, but not racism.
Unconscious bias is like a low-level form of racism. I'll just give you a few examples of what my mother said to me and my grandmother. How is your child going to know what it is? how is it going to know what it is? Is it white or is it black?
I mean, I'm imagining this was incredibly hurtful to you and you know, very, very distressing, very difficult for family relationships. And I appreciate you calling, Amanda. Thank you so much. Lovely to hear from you on the show. And I'm sorry that you have such a saga to recount after all these years.